Hey everyone, it's Rob Golfi here with REMAX, the Golfi team. I got Conrad Zurini here, broker, owner of REMAX Escarpment and REMAX Niagara. And we got Brian Hogben with Mission 35 Mortgages. We're here to tell you what's happening in real estate this week. I know everybody's reading about it, hearing about it, probably sick about it, about the tariffs with Donald Trump. He's causing a lot of ruckus around the world. And there was an article in the paper how much it's going to affect Hamilton. It could be $1 billion. But I don't think it's just in the housing. They're thinking about devastating for the Hamilton Home Builders Association. But not only that, but the steel industry in Hamilton. Even though the steel industry in Hamilton is not the #1 employer, if I'm correct on that, Conrad.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
healthcare it's health sciences, but still. Yeah. It's a big part of our economy here in Hamilton. So they're saying that, we're already behind the 8 ball in building houses, right?
Yes.
We're not going to, it's going to be tough for us to meet that one. Is it 1.5 million? That's in Ontario. Am I correct? Or is that in Ontario by 2030? Well, that's almost impossible even before this tariff thing's going on. But with these tariff things going on, how much more is that going to kill us or hurt us? Or do you think it's just the resale is just going to get stronger and better because they're not building any more houses?
Yeah, it's funny. There's always winners and losers and everything. And I call it this is the stroke of the pen economy, right? Building has been so expensive for a long, long time. And I think, a lot of people are just going to look at, it's a known quantity. But those numbers are compelling. And I don't know if the government's really realized that those retaliatory tariffs would affect, like this. So the builders were clear. And I saw the guy from the head of the Canadian Builders Association. He says, look, you guys can do whatever you want down in the U.S., tariff the heck out of Canadian goods. But when you start to do the retaliatory ones, it's going to affect us big time. Like, you got to understand, they're spending $14-15 billion on steel, fabricated steel that we buy from the U.S. 40% of all HVAC is bought in the U.S. It's U.S. product. And forget about appliances. So you've got building materials. There's even wood that's processed in the U.S. that's not processed here. So we got this so integrated supply chain that they're saying, look, do what you guys want to do it down there, but stop with, let's freeze on building materials up here. And so where does it end? That's the question. Is now they're going to say appliances aren't going to have retaliatory tariffs? Like, where does this whole thing end? I think they should have just said, look, guys, we're going to weather the storm with what they're doing down there. We're going to not do anything up here. Because, Trump said, you go tit for tat. They should have just said, we're going to live and deal with this thing. Because it's going to throw so many things out of whack for Canadians that have nothing to do with the export industries, right?
Right. Well, didn't they just take out all the American liquor out of the liquor stores?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So, I haven't gone to the liquor store recently, but I'm sure we're going to see a lot of empty shelves there now. So, are they just going to sell off what they have, or are they just saying we're taking it off the shelf and shelving it?
Can't sell it. I think they took it off the shelf. You can't get your California Red anymore. It is long gone.
Bourbons,
No kidding. So basically, they're just going to put it in the back room, store it for a while, and figure out what they're going to do with it. Or they just don't pay the bill.
Well, it's funny. Ironically, I did when Trump's speech was going on. I went on and you go on this all the time. Google Trends.
Yeah. And
I said, what's trending in our area now? There were 3 topics. One was obviously Trump's speech. Yeah. Number two was because the cricket game between Australia and India, right? That was there. And then the third thing was there right up with the Trump speech was LCBO. So and that was Ontario, right? So people were looking at LCBO just to see what's going on? Are they doing they're probably going on it, searching it, what's happening, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Is this true? I'm not going to get my California cabs anymore.
Well, you know what? I mean, it's definitely going to help a lot of these Canadian wineries that, you still be able to get the Italian wines. You'll be able to get all the other wines, but not the American wines, which is not going to be that bad for us, as Canadians, if we want to buy wines. It's just going to help out the Canadian and all the other foreign countries more so. So now basically it's a tasting contest now. Say, hey, I kind of like this Australian wine or this Italian wine, that instead of buying this California wine anymore. So there, it's going to hurt them. Like, I mean, we're big, but not that, but big enough to their companies are going to feel the pinch on that. They're going to feel it. There's some companies that are going to hurt from that. And but you're right. Like, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to continue or if this is just going to be a 60-day bullshit, and then they're going to lift it. Or, like, do you think they looked at all the aspects of this? Do you think before they did this?
No, well, I think the one thing to look at right now too is rates, right? So from the time we chatted last week, where there was almost a 75-80% chance of rates staying neutral, it totally flip-flopped. Now we got an 80, almost a higher than 80% chance of the rates cutting next week. Because
is that right? Yeah. What do you think?
Confidence went down.
Yeah.
Now you're probably going to see the BOC drop another quarter point next week, and we'll see what happens over the next week. But it's amazing how much changes now, and sentiment and the markets change within 7 days. It is,
oh my God,
total flip.
No, and so okay, so now do you think that this is a tactic, and then it's just going to this war is going to be over with in a month, or what's your thoughts on that? And then they'll bring the interest rates back to where they want to go, all that kind of shit. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts here. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because he announced in November. Again, they did it in January. The stock market kind of didn't really, I think they all thought he was just faking it, like you're saying, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's all going to go away. But then when he said it was going to happen tomorrow, then you saw the stock markets, U.S. and Canadian, kind of go haywire. But they regained. The problem is that he's talking about the auto, like they're going to pull out auto for a month. And he's saying, well, get yourselves organized to do manufacturing down in the U.S. Well, the largest parts manufacturer in North America said it would take, in a month, not even a chance, it would take several years to reestablish all that manufacturing in the U.S. Not even possible in a month. Not even possible.
Like, what's he thinking of? Like this, like, I mean, this guy is just rampant. Like,
what? And I think, like, what we're telling people now too is people got to be vigilant, and anybody that could potentially be affected, we're talking about, and say, hey, make sure you got your cards lined up. Make sure you got a home equity line of credit on your house. Make sure you do any type of financing now before 3-6 months from now. It could be a short-term thing. But just like when COVID came up, lenders started looking at different occupations differently, and they started adjudicating the files differently. So, if you're in an industry that might be a secondary hit, primary hit, you should really look at your finances now, because lenders are going to be looking at this, and they're going to be adjudicating mortgage files a little bit tighter depending on the industry that you're in.
Well, I remember somebody told me this in the 90s. I wasn't a realtor in the 90s. Conrad, you might be able to, you might know this because your family's been in the business for a long time. Now, when the recession hit in the 90s, they took all the line of credits away from all the realtors. Back then they just say, hey, sorry, we're taking that line of credit from you, because they didn't want them to live off that. And things were pretty bad in the 90s. So they're not doing that now. I haven't heard that, but you're right. They should line up stuff so it's not as hard to get. It'll be harder to get probably down the road, possibly. So people should line up and get their line of credits.
Or just, make sure you got that emergency account. Make sure you got that safety net if you're, because people still have a lot of equity by and far. I know there are, like Conrad says, some winners and losers, right? There's a lot of people that have a lot of equity. So that's a huge safety net. And if you don't have it in your bank account or TFSA, not a terrible idea to make sure you take out a little bit of money and have a safety net.
Oh, cool. So, listen, there was a thing that happened to me this week, and it just happened, I think on the 27th of February. So, and one of the agents on my team calls me up and says he's got a client that's looking at 2 of our listings in Fort Erie, and they're both vacant homes. And he wants to move into them within 48 hours. And but hey, you see this already. I know. And he wants to move in 48 hours, but he does want to buy it, but close in 90 days, but move in within 48 hours. So I tell the agent of my team, and I said, listen, I said, there's fraud written all over this already. I go, this guy here, I go, does he have a moving truck with all his furniture in it? And he's got, and he goes, yeah, how'd you know? I go, come on. I go, so anyway, I said to him, what kind of a deposit does he want to make on these houses? Like that he's looking at, he hasn't even looked at yet. He just wants to know if we would do it. And he goes 20,000. I go, no. I go, no way. And he wants to move in. He wants to rent 90 days first and then move in. So,
oh, nice.
No, that's a big no. You don't, you don't let anybody rent a house before they take possession because it becomes a problem afterwards.
Disaster.
It's a disaster. So the agent of my team, he's a younger guy. It was good that he called me. And that's the great thing about having a team that you agents can do that. So I said, I want to talk to this guy. I said, let me talk to this guy. And I says, let's do a three-way. I'm going to tell you how fraud this is. So we get set on a three-way. And so I asked him, I said, why do you need this house so quickly? Like, what's going on? He goes, well, I was with friends and we had a falling out. And so we're out. So really, he didn't have a falling out. I bet you the sheriff said, listen, you got 48 hours to get your shit out of the house. Otherwise you're out. I guarantee you he was a tenant someplace. And then he says, I owned houses, like I was told he owned a couple of houses in, I think, Milton or whatever, Burlington. I said, what are the addresses of these houses? And he started getting his back up, because he didn't like me asking these questions. Yeah. I go, look, you want something that we have. And in order to get this, I need to get information about you. And I go, other realtors are going to ask the same thing. So anyway, he didn't kind of want to give it and everything. So I said, okay, fine. So, and then he didn't like the idea of, I said, you have to come up with at least a $75,000 deposit on any of these properties, especially with you wanting to move in so early.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the agent on my team was still being optimistic. I says, be very careful. I says, we're not going to accept an offer, him moving in before. So just be prepared. And if he does have a bank draft, we want to see the bank draft happen right in front of us at his bank, because we're not going to put a bank draft in the bank and if it's bogus, and then we find out 4 days later it's not good. So anyway, I said, hey, go through it, see what happens. So he gets his driver's license and copy of the driver's license for FinTrack. Then now he's got his real name. Google's him.
Yeah.
He's got fraud stuff all over him. This guy, I knew it. You know what I'm saying? When somebody wants to move in, within 24 hours, they got kicked out of someplace. And
guaranteed.
Do you get a lot of these, Conrad? Do you get a lot of
them? Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah.
Like a lot of fraud.
There is a lot of fraud. A lot of people trying to get away with certain things. But it's funny. It was so interesting, and the reaction we get when, especially if it's another outside agent, and we tell them we Googled your person, right? like did you Google the person? You know what I mean? And they're like, what? And they're so surprised. Like we're gonna do it. We don't want to embarrass ourselves and have our client Google them and find out hey, Conrad, who did you put in my house? What did you do here? Yeah. Just do a dossier on that client, and it's really, really, really easy. But I will say this: I use ChatGPT and Perplexity a lot when I'm Googling people's names. Sometimes when they're a little iffy, it's very politically correct. It just says, well, there's some uncertainties. It's so funny. You read it, says, well, there are some uncertainties about so-and-so's history.
Yeah, I see that. I gotta use ChatGPT looking up somebody. I gotta do that.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's fantastic. Well,
we treat them all like a fraud investigation. We won't only just Google the name. Like when we look at, I'll Google the employer, the contact person, the employer.
Oh yeah.
I even Google Earth the previous address to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
And I think investors got to be careful now, because I know even personally, some of the vacancies have sat longer than before. So the tendency to want to accept something quicker is there again. And that's a feeling that I felt, 10 years ago, where it's ooh, I just want to get a tenant in. But
I know.
But you can't, because you get a bad tenant in, you're 10 months of crap. Going through.
Oh my God. Yeah.
you're way better off still keeping the extra vacancy for an extra month or two.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to your point, Rob, if they don't want to provide the information,
Not
that's
interested.
fine. They got to provide
Yeah.
the
And
information.
especially if somebody wants to move in like within a week, forget it. They got kicked out of someplace, and they thought they were invincible. And chances are they thought, oh, I got more time before they kick me out, and until the sheriff comes in. I remember
I've asked someone for bank statements in the past because I was a little unsure. They said they had money from, dad was sending money from overseas. I'm like, great, let's see your bank statements. Ghosted, never come back again, right? So
yeah. Well, Brian, you're right, though. We are entering that uncertainty. Things are lingering, and our sellers will grasp onto anything, right? And we have to disclose what's happening. It's their decision, but at the end of the day, you're right. We saw this when the market was a little bit wonky. People were taking on those things just to get a tenant, just to get this thing off their back. But really, you just open up a Pandora's box and a whole bunch of heartache when you do it, right? But you got to be really vigilant and use your agent and really consult as many people as you can, because it's tempting, right? As a seller.
Oh, I'm
right?
telling you. Yeah, when you're younger, you'll take them on anyway. Just, I got a tenant. I'm not going to lose a month's rent. Yeah, when you're like in your 20s, eh?
You got cash. You're in. You got cash. You're in.
It's the last cash you're going to see. I'm going to tell you a quick story. So there was a tenant that I had, and it was a sixplex, and this guy was driving me mad collecting. He actually made me come up, and I made a website that it's called Bad Tenants or something. I was frustrated, and I'd be there with my camera when I met with him, took a picture of him so that if this is the guy that you're going to rent to, like you Google his name, he would show up. But you can't do that anyway. So, but I was upset enough to have a website built. But anyway, so he owed me a lot of money. We had the sheriff going. This is before COVID, where things were normal. He owed me a lot of money. The sheriff was coming. He knew the sheriff was coming. So the thing is, in order for him to stay, he had to pay me in full, right? Had to pay in full. Yeah. So he paid me, but he was $50 short. I still had the sheriff come, and he was furious. I said, "You didn't pay me in full. You didn't pay me in full. I'm sorry. You had to pay me in full." And he was pissed. And I said, "It doesn't feel good being screwed over, does it?" I go, "It doesn't feel good." I go, now you know how I felt. I said, "It doesn't feel good." And he just went like, he's had a criminal record, and he was a boxer when he was younger. And I know he could punch me with one shot, and he would have gone to jail for 5 years, and he had to stay away because anyway. But moral of that story was, I don't know.
Pay Rob what he's owed. Pay Rob.
Yeah, pay me what he owed. I had no mercy. Usually, guys, if there was only $50 left, they would have called off the sheriff.
Yeah,
no way. This guy would.
And you know what? I joke, but I agree with that, because you know what? That just means that you're enabling the behavior again.
That's it.
To do it again. If you would have accepted that, you're like, you can continue to screw me going forward because you're not honoring your word.
Absolutely. Exactly. I said, no way. I'm not going to go through this crap again. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, totally. You did good. That was smart.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, I don't know.
Cool.
Tenants don't like me now. Anyway.
They got a website about bad landlords.
Anyway, guys, thanks for being on. We'll catch you next week, and have a great week. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks.